All right, welcome back to Niners Nightly. Larry Krueger with you, and joining us this segment to talk a little bit about Super Bowl 60 and how the Niners get back in step with the Seahawks is Al Sacco, who's a great follow on X at Al Sacco49, and he's with us on the Yuma guest line to chop it up and talk a little Super Bowl, a little Niners. What's going on, Al? How are you?
I'm doing good, Larry. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I appreciate you coming on. And, man, it was tough watching the Seahawks win the Super Bowl. But let me ask you this. Does it make it easier for you when people throw out this stat that 9 of the last 10 teams that eliminated the Niners have gone on to win the Super Bowl, with Seattle being the most recent? Does that in any way make things easier?
It doesn't, because when you look at the way things went down in the gut-wrenching losses and one play here or one play there that would have changed it all, it almost makes it worse. I mean, it really does. I was thinking about it the other day when Roger Craig got in the Hall of Fame. I think there's maybe 5 49ers from those late 80 teams that are in the Hall of Fame, around there. There's not much more than that. And I was thinking about the 2023 team, and there's going to probably be 5 Hall of Famers on that team or close to it. And the fact that they didn't get a ring with that group is crazy. It doesn't look like they're going to. Who knows what'll happen in the league? But to have that kind of talent and not get a ring, it's tough, man.
No question about it. By the way, congratulations to Roger Craig. I mean, what an incredible accomplishment for him to get into the Hall of Fame. The Niners dynasty is underrepresented. And there are other guys that time has forgotten that were truly awesome players. I mean, nobody seems to remember anything about Michael Carter. I mean, Michael Carter was like the nose guard of his era. Mm-hmm. He was an Olympic silver medalist in the shot put. When he came to the Niners in '85, he could run. He played a major role on the Niners from '85 through the '92 season. He was there in the NFC Championship game in the '92 season. Maybe even beyond that, just my recollection. I mean, you're talking about a guy who won 2 Super Bowls and could have won a third, and maybe was the greatest. I mean, him and Tim Krumrie met up, and then Super Bowl 23, they were considered at the time the preeminent nose guards in each conference. I kind of feel like Michael Carter is one of the all-time greats, and I feel like time has forgotten that.
Yeah, they had so many great players on those teams, so many role players. The guys like Tom Rathman and John Taylor and Harris Barton, right, on the offensive line, and Jesse Spolo and Guy McIntyre. You can go on and on. They're amazing teams. It was a great time to be a 49ers fan back then.
No question. All right, so what did we learn from Seattle? Do you look at them and just go, wow? They're younger, they're faster, they're better, they've got a ton of cap room, and just be like, you know what, it's over, and Seattle is going to commandeer this division going forward? Or do you see the 49ers somehow, I don't know, being able to run with the Rams and the Seahawks maybe as soon as next year? How do you see it?
Well, I think, the Seahawks are in really good shape, and you look at the last 3 or 4 drafts they've had, and you can see why. Just all the studs that they brought in. These are guys that they're going to be able to probably sign long-term and keep around. The Niners are in a retooling situation right now, and Steve Young was on KNBR, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something along the lines of, they're not the 6-11 team they were in 2023, and they're probably not the 12-5 team they were. I'm sorry, 2024, and they're not the 12-5 team they were in 2025. They're probably somewhere in between. And I think that's accurate. They're probably like a 9-ish win team when you look at that roster, 9-10 wins. They're a playoff team, but Super Bowl team, I don't think so. And next year, just everybody's older. McCaffrey is going to be 30. Kittle, if he even plays next year, is 33. Trent Williams is older. They have to retool this offense. They need speed. They have to go out and get some playmakers. You see, the Rams are the only team that can really score on Seattle, it seems like, and they have playmakers everywhere. They have all those tight ends. They have Puka Nacua, they have Devontae Adams, and that's what the 49ers need to do. They need to go out and get some playmakers and some speed on the outside to help with this offense.
It's funny because I think what you're referring to is, Tim Kawakami came out and was like, hey, the 49ers are the 3rd best team in the NFC West, and they're also the 3rd best team in the entire league. And I'm like, what? They are not the 3rd best team in the entire league. That is delusional. And I love Tim, but come on. That's not even close to being true. Here are the Super Bowl 61 odds. Okay. This is how the betting public sees it right now. Seahawks are the favorite, plus 800. Rams are second, plus 900. Ravens are third, plus 1,200. Tied with the Bills. Packers at 1,400, tied with the Eagles. Lions at 1,500 to 1, tied with the Chiefs. And then you've got the Chargers at 15 to 1 or 15, plus 1,500, 15 to 1. Patriots at plus 1,500. And then you have the Niners at 17 to 1. And then that's about right. I mean, that's probably about right. So count that. That's what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're the 11th best team in pro football. They're not the third best team in pro football. Come on.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy too. I mean, it's kind of delusional when you look at it that way. They have a defense that is all young players, unproven, did not play out. Obviously, they did not have Warner and Bosa for the season, but they got lit up. They have a lot to prove on that side of the ball. And again, the offense, no speed. You saw they could not do anything against Seattle. McCaffrey, you carried the team for really most of the season. Again, he's coming to 450 plus touches. He's a year older. Kyle Shanahan mentioned they need more speed, and I think what you're going to see this offseason is really them trying to retool that offense and get more speed and get more explosive playmakers. And if they do that, then yeah, I'll buy into them maybe being in the race. But right now, and until I see what happens this offseason, it's tough to see the team that we had this year coming back next year sort of as is and say, yeah, this is a Super Bowl team. It's a playoff team probably, but they need a lot of help, especially without Kittle for the year. I mean, that's huge. They have to replace that production. So they're going to have to go out and make some moves on offense if they really want to be a contender.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, let's just talk about Seattle for a second. Just Seattle, not even the Niners and their roster. Just trying to match up with Seattle. They have Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams on their front line, and you can't run against them. And Shanahan made it perfectly clear in his analysis over the weekend that they sit in that too deep shell, and if you can't run the ball, you're kind of screwed. So, I know that the offensive line, they could bring back the same offensive line next year, and they'd be okay. Where if they bring back the same receivers or the same linebackers, they're screwed. I mean, they have to upgrade receiver and linebacker. But I don't think they should bury offensive line, the interior of the offensive line, too far down the list, because Shanahan would not run behind Brendel or up in the A gaps on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 against the Seattle team. And if you can't move, Richard Sherman made the point. It's like, hey, man, if you can't move these guys at the point, you're not beating them. And Shanahan basically said it. If you can't run them out of their too deep shell, your chances of beating them are not very good. So doesn't it kind of start right there with, an upgrade at running back, an upgrade in the, center guard? I mean, I know it may not be the priority per se, but maybe it should be.
Yeah, you have to be good on the line of scrimmage, and Jake Brendel is going to be 34 this year.
Right.
I mean, he's getting up there, and Pooney will definitely be one of the guards. I think he played hurt most of last year, so we'll see how he improves in year 3. But then that other guard spot, who knows? And I agree, that's a weak spot for the Niners, and who your competition is right now, right? The Seahawks right now are probably the class of the league. I think the only team that really could have beat them was the Rams. Maybe if Josh Allen gets hot, that sort of thing, but what your competition is, and what that defense is, and that's the team that you have to beat right now. And the Rams are there too. They present different problems, but right now the Seahawks are the class of the league. They're in your division. So what are you going to do to compete with them? And yeah, I think being better on the line of scrimmages on both sides is huge. But like you mentioned, if you can't run against them, the Niners don't have any speed on the outside, and they didn't score in 8 quarters against them. It's not brain surgery when you kind of look at that roster against what they're going against. So I feel like as fun of a year as this was for the 49ers and unexpected, and they kept winning despite the injuries, I think it sort of glossed over a lot of the bigger issues that they're really not a 12-5 team. I don't think so anyway. And they're not on par with a team like the Seahawks and the Rams at this point. And they need to get there. Not only are these the 2 best teams in the NFC, they're the 2 best teams in their division. So the Niners need to get there, and they had the best roster in 2023. I think that's really hard to argue with. They were loaded, but that was guys that they had gotten from 2017 through 2020. From 2021 on, there's been issues with the drafts and issues with guys that they've brought in, and they just don't have the same roster. And these other guys are aging out, Kittle and Williams and McCaffrey, and even Warner and Bosa are, 30 or pushing 30. So they're getting up there too, and they haven't developed or drafted or traded for stars to replace these guys yet. There's complementary players. There's some good pieces, but there's not stars to replace these guys. Larry, let me ask you, who would you give a second contract to of some of these guys coming up on the 49ers? We just mentioned all these guys on Seattle, right? JSN and Emanora and Witherspoon and all these guys to give a second contract to. Who on the 49ers that they've drafted in the last few years would you say, yeah, this is a building block? I don't think there's anybody other than Purdy and Lenore who already have second contracts.
Yeah, I would long-term Upton Stout. That's it.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to be really good.
Oh, he's the real deal, man. I mean, this guy's super tough, and he's like your most violent player. He's your most physical player, and he's your smartest player. So, I mean, when you have that, all of those things, I mean, he's an awesome talent. I mean, if he were 6'2", he'd be a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's awesome. But that's it. That is it. And when I see Fred Warner yesterday saying, it's only a matter of time. Next year, we're going to win the Super Bowl. I guarantee it. Next year. It's like, dude, I would pipe that down.
A lot of work to do.
There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of projections, and of course, when you get eliminated, people want to be like, the quick fix, right? Trade for Max Crosby. Max Crosby, according to Jason La Canfora, told Tom Brady he'll never play for the Raiders again. The Raiders want to keep him, but they are seeking a Micah Parsons trade package if they end up moving him. This is according to Schefter. Jeremy Fowler from ESPN says the Niners are believed to be among the multiple teams that will try to pursue a trade for Crosby. I mean, I'll just throw it to you this way. I mean, the Micah Parsons trade package was 2 number 1 picks and Kenny Clark. I don't even know that the Niners have a Kenny Clark to throw in there. Would you trade your 26 and 27 ones and, I don't know, Malik Mustafa, let's just say one of your better defensive players? Would you trade that for Crosby? Because I don't think I would. Not that I don't like Crosby or think that he's awesome. I just don't think that's going to get it done. I don't think the Niners are one Crosby away from anything. And I think if they delude themselves into thinking they are, there's probably going to be a lot of hell to pay on the back end for having that delusion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even if you bring him in and the defense is better, you saw them retool the defense last year through the draft, right? That was their priority. Obviously, they drafted all these young defensive guys to kind of be the next wave or whatever. Hopefully, they have to do that on offense. They're taking a big step back on offense next year. The way things look right now, obviously, the offseason has to happen. But Juwan Jennings, who was their best receiver, he's a free agent. They're probably not going to resign him unless it's a team-friendly deal. And I think that's okay, again, because I like Juwan Jennings. But again, the Niners need to get faster and younger. So they have to bring in 2 wide receivers. They have to fill George Kittle's shoes, which is huge. Talking the best tight end in the league. You can't replace his blocking. You don't know what you're going to get out of McCaffrey. You can't go into next season and say, all right, Christian McCaffrey just had 450 touches. He's going to be Christian McCaffrey again. You just can't. The history is against it. We've seen it. Guys coming off these 400-plus seasons don't do well the next year or they get hurt. And McCaffrey himself, after his 2 previous 400-touch seasons, he got hurt the next year. I think he played a total of 7 total games or something like that in those 2 seasons. So they have to look at that and say, yeah, okay, we bring in Max Crosby, we give up these picks. Well, how are you retooling this offense then? Even if the defense gets better, the offense will take a step back in that regard. So they're in a situation where I know you have these older players, but the Niners really have to look at how are we going to build this thing over the next couple of years? How are we going to get back to the elite again? And I don't know that there's a quick fix. I think they have to draft well and bring in some young studs and make a couple good trades. McCaffrey was a trade. Trent Williams was a trade. If they can go out and make a trade for, it doesn't mean it have to be 3 first-round picks. They didn't trade first-round picks for either one of those guys. But make a couple of smart trades, draft well in the next couple of years, and then I think you can get back to the elite. But I agree with you. I don't think they're one player away right now.
Yeah, and when you're not one player away, but you think you're one player away, that's a dangerous spot to be in. Because then you're going to trade all your assets for Justin Jefferson or all your assets for Max Crosby. You're going to fill one spot, and then you're going to have to fill like 8 other spots with undrafted guys. And you'd have to have an unbelievable run of success to get that done. All right, let's play a quick game of who stays, who goes. Okay. I'm just going to give you the name of we're just go take a look at their unrestricted free agents, because I don't know about you, but I'm kissing off most of these guys. I mean,
I agree with you.
Nothing against them, but I'm saying goodbye to almost all of them. Here we go. Let's run down the list. Stays or goes? Yatir Gross-Matos.
Goes.
I agree.
Can't stay healthy. That wasn't a good signing. It's got to go.
Juwan Jennings.
Unless it's a team-friendly deal because they need help at receivers. 2 years, 20 million, something like that. I think he's got to go.
The number that I saw on Jennings was PFF has Jennings getting a 3-year, $50 million deal. So you're talking about 16 and change, 17. To me, that right there would have to have a real hard conversation with Kyle, John, Jed, Parag, because to me, that's a little bit more than I want. I'd rather go 2 years, 32 million, 16 million a year, 3 years, 50 million at 17, a little bit of 16 and change, 17. That's a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. I do want to keep him because my receiving core is a wasteland of nothingness without him. So I don't know. I'll throw it to you, Al. You'll be the deciding vote. We got two people in the room. One says yes, 3 years, 50 million. Give it to him. The other saying no. Al Sacco, break the tie. Do you give JJ 3 years?
Got to get younger and faster. They have to have a plan B, but I think I would pursue that plan B first.
So you're saying no. Okay, so bye Jennings. Jordan Elliott, stays or goes?
Again, if you could do a team-friendly type deal, I'd bring him back, but I would not break the bank for him. So I think ultimately he's probably going to go.
Spencer Burford, stays or goes?
I think he's going to get paid probably on the free agent market the way the offensive lineman happens. So I think he's going to go.
Yeah, no, I think Burford's going to get paid a lot more than people think. Jason Pinnock, stays or goes?
Goes.
I agree. Kevin Givens, stays or goes?
I'm going to say that he stays.
I'm going to say goes. I just think he's outlived his usefulness. He's never been good against the run, and his body's starting to break down a little bit.
It may be a situation with one of those two guys, Elliott or Givens, again, because they need so much. They have the two rookies. They may say, okay, team-friendly deal. Let's bring one of these guys back. I can see one of those two coming back.
No, I think you're right. For me, it would be Elliott, but I hear you. What about Luke Gifford? Had a real good year as a special teamer. He stays or goes?
Oh, man, those guys I feel like are kind of a dime a dozen, right? You go out and you find somebody you like. I'll say stays. Let's pick a few guys to stay. Let's say he'll come back.
I'll say goes, but just because I think they need more speed at linebacker. I mean, when Gifford was forced to play coverage, it was a circus.
I don't want him playing, but special teams. If he's there for special teams, good. All right. But we don't want to see him other than that.
Kendrick Bourne, stays or goes?
Goes.
Yeah, I agree. Sky Moore, stays or goes?
I think he stays. I think he's going to come back as a kick returner next year. He did a good job.
Yeah, I like that. John Weeks, stays or goes?
Goes.
I'll say stays.
No, you know what? Stays. No, stays. Yeah. I think they're very particular about that. Yeah, stays. Yeah.
I mean, these guys had a pretty good year collectively. Yeah. Ben Barch, stays or goes?
I think he'll stay. I think they'll bring him back.
I think so too. Brian Robinson, stays or goes?
I think he's going to go. I think they need to find a young guy who could eventually take over for McCaffrey, or if McCaffrey's not playing. They really have to look at next year. McCaffrey may not be here. We need a dude. They got to figure something else out.
Yeah, they got to get a couple good backs in this draft. I'll tell you, the kid that I love is Kalon Black from Indiana. He reminds me so much of Emmitt Smith. It's unbelievable. He's 5'8", 208 pounds, but he's one of these just unbelievable pile driving, moving guy. I mean, this guy's got strong legs. I really like that kid. How about Thomas Morstead, stays or goes, the punter?
Again, I think I feel like they're kind of particular about it. I'll say he stays.
Yeah. Matt Hennessy, stays or goes?
Oh, man. I wish I knew what their plan was there. It's like, I don't know what the plan's going to be, I'm going to say he goes.
Yeah. Patrick Taylor, stays or goes?
Goes.
Trent Taylor, I think, is going to retire, so that makes it easy. Cleve Farrell, stays or goes?
think he's going to go. Again, you got to get a couple of dudes there on the edge. You need some guys who can be game breakers there.
Curtis Robinson stays or goes?
Goes.
Yeah, I agree. Eddie Pinheiro stays or goes?
I think they would like him to stay. Let's see how expensive he gets. But he did really well last year, and they need some dependability there. So I'm going to say they find a way to bring him back.
All right. How about Mac Jones? Where are you on Mac Jones? It's like, on one hand, I love what Shanahan's saying. He's like, hey, we're not moving him. There, all the reports are they're not moving him, because guess what? That should be the report. You're not moving him. You have a $7 million quarterback that you can win games with. Unless somebody bowls you over with some killer offer, why the heck would you move him? But at the same time, you got a million holes, and you could probably fill one or two or three of them with whatever you get back for Mac Jones. So this is a tough one. I would drive a very hard bargain on Mac Jones. I'm not giving away Mac Jones for anything less than a total win of a trade. How do you feel about Jones?
Well, I think it starts with how do people view him. So if you have a team that views him, to the 2027 QB class is going to be like generational, right? Coming out. So do people view him as a stopgap for a year, or do people view him as a Sam Darnold situation where they want to extend him for another 2 years and 60 million or something like that, 30 million a year? You know what I mean? So I think if that's the case, I think you can get a good return for him. And I think that they should, because like you said, they have so many holes and they need so much. They have to build this next window. And this is a guy who, while he's one of the best backups in the league, if not the best, certainly up there, in an ideal world, he never sees the field. So I know he's good to have as Purdy's backup in case something happens, but they need too much. And if they get a good package for him, I think that they have to. If the Vikings come at them and say Jordan Addison in a pick, in a third round pick or something like that, like I'm doing that if I'm them. I would look to get as much as I can for him, but if it's just like a fifth rounder and somebody wants him for 1 year, I would probably hold on to him. But if they can get a higher pick in a player, I would trade him in a heartbeat.
The reappearance of Eddie D this week reminds Niner fans of what the Niner standard used to be. And I say that because I'm sure there are some Niner people that are hearing that and they bristle at that, because in their mind, the standards never changed. Their standard is the same today as it was with Eddie. But that's not really true, is it? Because Eddie would definitely react somehow to falling short. Eddie would cast some blame. It wouldn't be a blameless predicament that they're in. Do you look at the Niners situation as there's no blame, it's just the Rams and Seahawks have been spectacular? Or do you look at the situation and say, hell no, there is blame. Absolutely there's blame. And it should go on whom? I mean, if Eddie D owned this thing, I don't think he would just run it back with the same coach, the same GM, the same everything. I think that he would want some major change going forward. Do the Niners need a major change going forward?
Well, if people watched Rise of the 49ers, and if you didn't live through the era, Eddie D was ready to get, he would have gotten rid of Bill Walsh. He wanted results all the time. I mean, and he said recently too, I think they asked him about the Super Bowl drought when he was kind of like, said something along the lines of, if I still own the team, that wouldn't be the case.
Right.
And the 49ers have been very successful, but again, the standard there was insanely high. And I hold the team to that standards. I can be hard on the team because I do hold them to that 49ers standard. And yet it is, the people that, first of all, the Trey Lance trade was one of the worst trades of all time. They got lucky in a lot of ways that they found Brock Purdy. So that gave them a little bit, okay, we're okay. And it didn't hurt them for a couple of years, but now you're seeing that it did hurt them and they haven't drafted well. They didn't have first round picks for a couple of years and they haven't drafted well. So there is some blame. And I think the blame does come with personnel, whether that's John, Kyle, or whoever it is, because I think they're tremendously coached. I thought they were one of the best coached teams in the league this past year. Coaching's unbelievable, but there's been issues with the roster and we're starting to see it now. And they drafted fairly well. Well, they drafted well those first 4 or 5 years because you got blue chip guys and Kittle and Warner and Bosa and Debo and Ayuk, Greenlaw, all these great names. They haven't done that the last 5 years. So to me, the blame of where the Niners kind of are headed or the issues that they have right now, it lies with wherever these personnel decisions, whoever makes these personnel decisions or the group of people that do have to get better. They have to draft better. They have to be smarter with some of these free agent signings, and they do tend to make good trades. But the draft is the big thing where they have to start bringing in some real talent and not just complimentary guys.
Is it time for them to start thinking about looking outside the organization for personnel help? I ask this just because you're right. They've fallen behind. They've fallen behind because of the Trey Lance trade. They've fallen behind because of the Javon Hargrave signing. They've fallen behind because they've taken some big swings and missed. You can trade multiple picks for one guy, but if that guy is a bust, now you're set back. You can spend $40 million on one player, but if that guy doesn't give you a $40 million, performance, now you're behind. I feel like those two moves have set them back. Is it time for them to, Eddie D, when the Niners lost to the Cowboys in 1992 and 1993, what did he do? He pilfered Ken Norton off of the Cowboys. He said, oh, they've got Ken Norton and he's annoying to us and he's beating us. Let's have Ken Norton. And they took Ken Norton. Is that the solution, to go after, Tariq Woolen and Boye Mafe and Kobe Bryant and some of their free agents? Or should the Niners be going after Trent Kirshner, who's John Schneider's assistant head of personnel, and just maybe promote John Lynch to like the president of the team and get one more really proven personnel voice in the room? I mean, I think it's the kind of move that Eddie would almost demand.
I think the fact that they overachieved this year kind of buys people more time. But I agree with you. They're one more bad draft away, and maybe people would think that they're already at this point, but they need to start looking at the personnel department. Something isn't right. Something isn't working with these drafts and some of the people that they've brought in. And this is a huge offseason. They all are, but this one especially, again, because you really now, the two best teams in your division, you got to keep up, and you need to bring in some real players through the draft and however else you want to do it, through trades or whatever. If they don't do that this year, and we're having the same conversation next year, we're like, well, who is going to be wide receivers? They don't have a tackle. The O-line still is having issues. Like, we don't have another edge. When Warner retires, there's no good linebackers, that sort of thing. If we're still having this conversation next year, then yeah, I think maybe it's time for some kind of shakeup. And if they push Lynch up to be, whatever, a vice president role where he's kind of like the team politician, he's terrific at that. And you do go out and get somebody else to start making decisions. I don't think they're too far off, based on what we've seen in the last 4 or 5 drafts or so.
Yeah. Couple on the Seahawks. The Seahawks looked amazing. I mean, they lost 3 games in the regular season by a combined 9 points. Only Super Bowl champions to be outscored by less than 10 points in their losses. And it's like they're on a list that includes the 72 Dolphins, the 84 Niners, the 66 Packers, the 91 Skins, the 89 Niners, the 86 Giants. This Seattle team, I mean, are they going to be on top for a while? And I ask that question simply because they do have they got a young head coach. They got a young general manager. I mean, they just went their entire postseason without committing a single turnover. And they've got a lot of cap room. I mean, if you look at their cap situation, it's very, very favorable. What do you think? I mean, Seahawks on top for a while. They have the 6th most cap space in the NFL.
Yeah, I can see it. The next 2 or 3 years, they're going to be tough because, like you said, they have the money to bring their guys back. They have the money to extend JSN and whoever else they need to. They're going to be tough. And that coach, listen, McDonald has given Kyle Shanahan fits for years. He's a terrific defensive coach. He's going to continue to be a terrific defensive coach. They probably could see them maybe trying to either bring Shaheed back or maybe add another receiver or something like that. Obviously, Kenneth Walker is a free agent. But they're going to be tough, man. And as long as Matthew Stafford's healthy, the Rams are going to be tough. The Niners have their work cut out for them for sure. We've seen them do it before. We saw them build this team from nothing into a juggernaut there for a few years. So we hope that they can do it again, but it's got to get better than draft-wise than we've seen the last few.
Best defenses you've ever seen. I mean, now Seattle's in that conversation. I mean, if you say best defenses I've ever seen, I quickly think of the 85 Bears. But then I also think of the 75 Steelers. I think of that 2000 Ravens team. I think of Lynch's team in Tampa, 2002 Bucks with Derek Brooks and Sapp and Lynch and you bunch of dudes. Dexter Jackson, I think, was the Super Bowl MVP. I think of the Legion of Boom. I think of the Niners in '84. I think of this Seattle team. Where do you put this Seattle defense? Yeah, I think of the Eagles from a year ago. Heck, with all their sacks. Where do you rank this Seattle defense up against the best defenses you've ever seen?
Well, I don't think it's 2000 Ravens level or 85 Bears level. I mean, they were on another, total another world, those two defenses.
I agree.
But if you want to say it's a top 10 Super Bowl defense that we've seen, I'd buy that. I would absolutely buy that. If people, it's always, recency bias, really have to go back and think of some of those teams. But I would say if you told me they were a top 10 Super Bowl winning defense, I might buy that. They were pretty dominant.
Yeah, no, seriously. The secondary they have is so good. One last one before we let you go. Ryan Clark went on ESPN and said that he would take 9 NFC quarterbacks over Sam Darnold. He said he'd take Stafford, Purdy, Mayfield, Prescott, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, all over Sam Darnold. I mean, that's not showing much respect. But what do you think? I mean, I would take Stafford. I would take Purdy. I would probably take Jaden Daniels. And we got to see what he is still. Those 3 are the ones. The other ones, I'm not totally in love with Goff or Caleb or Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts or Prescott. You know what I mean? I'm just not. I think Sam. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they're better than Sam, but I definitely wouldn't say that Sam's better than them. I don't know. I mean, where would you rank Darnold in the NFC quarterbacks?
Well, let me say this about Darnold. The last 2 years, he's thrown for about 8,400 yards. His teams have won 31 games, and he just won a championship. He didn't commit a turnover in the playoffs. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
We're getting to a point, or we've been at this point where everybody wants to rank these QBs, right? Like, well, this one is here, and Justin Herbert's top 5, this, that, and the other thing. And it's hard. Like, it changes week to week, right? I mean, it's guys get better, guys get worse. Like, who plays good in big games? Prescott is a better regular season quarterback than Sam Darnold, I would say, but he isn't not in the playoffs. Not after what we saw this past year. Jordan Love has done nothing, so I don't know why people are so obsessed with him. Goff's had some playoff moments. I would, and then with Caleb and with Jaden Daniels too, we don't know yet. I mean, we just haven't seen enough of them to really make a definitive statement either way. I don't think on those guys. Maybe they're both going to be great. Maybe they're both going to flame out. Maybe they're both going to be mediocre. We don't know. So, I mean, not to dance around the question, but I just think with Darnold, people just have to say, look, he's a good starting quarterback, and the guy just won a freaking Super Bowl and played turnover-free football. Like, he's a pretty good player. So wherever they want to rank him, if they want to say he's the 7th best in the NFC, if they want to play the, well, if you put this quarterback on this team thing, I'm a results guy. I'm a, you do or you don't guy, and I give him all the credit in the world. Like, he turned his career around. He did it, and he's one of the best stories in a long time in the NFL.
He's one of the better quarterback prospects we've seen, except going back to SC, he always turned it over too much. But guess what? If you can eradicate the turnovers and you're doing everything else really pretty well, suddenly you're on a higher plateau, and that's what he did. He still is he doesn't throw with anticipation like a Brock Purdy. He doesn't quite see the field like that. But you know what? He's got a bigger frame. He's got a better arm. He can wait longer because he's got a better arm. And he was disciplined and smart and took care of the football and took himself to a championship and to another level. And he deserves all the credit in the world. And I don't think it's gonna be something like poof. All of a sudden he's awful. If you're a Niner fan rooting for Sam Darnold to return to turnover-laden Jets Sam Darnold, I don't think you're going to like what's coming in the next couple of years. Al, we always like what's coming when you stop by, so thanks for coming on. Al Sacco 49 on X. We'll give you the final word. What is the one thing you want to see here in this offseason?
Speed on the edge. Speed on the outside at wide receiver, speed out of the backfield. I want to see this team get faster.
Yep, no, great call. Al Sacco, we got more straight ahead. It's Niners Nightly on the Sports Leader.